Hoosier Surveyor Podcast, brought to you by the Indiana Society of Professional Land Surveyors.
All right, good afternoon. This is Ryan Swingley, your host for the Hoosier Surveyor Podcast, bringing you episode number 13, live and on the scene at the Embassy Suites in Noblesville, the conference center that we're having our 2024 convention. I'm joined today by our producer, Ryan Selby, and our special guest, or continuous guest, Rodney Kelly. You're kind of the Ed McMahon to me being Johnny Carson. You just throw some yeses in there every now and again, and yes, sir.
That's great. Yes, sir.
That's a very old reference. We're probably a little too young for the Johnny Carson era.
I am not.
But I do remember Johnny Carson being on, so. We'll start calling you Ed.
Ed Kelly.
Ed McMahon. Well, so today, we apologize again for the length between podcasts, but as most of us know, this has been an extremely busy year to be a land surveyor. It's a great time to be a land surveyor, and, we're coming up on our conference. I'd like to hear from you guys on what the conference means to you, and if you're excited, is it something you look forward to? Is it something that's just you got to do? I mean, Rodney, what's your thoughts?
Every year, I've always looked forward to it. From the first year that I attended, which I believe was 1999, I was 2 years into it.
Do you remember where that was?
I believe it was French Lick.
No, I believe it was Evansville, Indiana.
Evansville.
That was the year I graduated from college.
Okay, so it was Southern Indiana. A year after maybe in French Lick, or anyway, I do remember that one. I think I received a green portfolio maybe as one of those attendee gifts or something. Mm-hmm. But I was intrigued, it being the first time, if I remember correctly, which I may not be, but looking back, it was always a time for me to every year from then on to see a different perspective. I started in the Wabash Valley chapter. Had a great mentor and first employer that really embraced the education side of things and said that if I wanted to become more involved, that was the place to go beyond being involved at a chapter level. So I started doing that, but I've always looked forward to it. I don't remember a year that I had a feeling of this is a burden. This is something I had to do to maintain my license, because I didn't have a license at the time, and maybe that was probably one of the reasons that it wasn't a forced issue. But I've always been a continual learner in my eyes, and I always liked seeing the different surveyors around the state. I always remember seeing a couple of gentlemen who I never met, never got to know, that had very eccentric styles to their. There were anyway, but. Looking back, it's always been something that I've enjoyed doing, traveling here and there and seeing the different places and meeting the different people. And I've had some conversations even in the last couple months with people that I met at those events more than 20 years ago that I'm still friends with today. So
sure.
That's been definitely a positive experience in coming to the convention every year.
Those early days in '99, and I don't know, maybe you're a historian to remember when actual continuing education came along. Those days were completely voluntary. Mm-hmm. I mean, people were there because they wanted to be, and there was a certain era of camaraderie that came out of that we built in the early days that I think has continued on for our convention. I mean, sure, there's a handful of people that come just because they need to be there, but for the most part, I think people want to be there. Ryan, what's your experience?
I agree. I mean, I definitely look forward to going every year, and it's just as much the social side of it as it is the education side of it. I mean, it's good to get in there and get the different perspectives from the different classes, but yeah, there's definitely the social side of it that brings me back every year to that versus doing the virtual or some other seminar somewhere else to get my continuing ed. So,
Right.
you know, and especially this year, it's a different year for me this year. So, starting the presidency and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, you'll be
there's a lot to it.
handed
So
the gavel on what, Friday morning or Thursday
night.
Thursday
yeah.
night, you'll be handed the gavel, and boy, it'll be years to mess up then.
Yeah, exactly. It's starting to get kind of real. It's like, wait, that's next month. That's in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So-
And it'll go so quick. You won't. I mean, I feel like my presidency was probably one of the worst ISPLS presidencies of all time, because I just got inundated with work that year, and I just could not dedicate as much time to it. So you're gonna have to, and that's very easy to fall into that pit. You know, I mean, that we look at the number of podcasts we've done this year is indicative of how busy we are, and it's easy to fall into that. But I know you're strong, and I know you're disciplined, and I know you'll have what it takes to.
I'm committed to spend the amount of time I need to spend on it. It's just, and I think this year I realized that I'd kind of overtaxed myself a little bit on some things. So I am shedding some of those things, like the scholarship committee and some of that kind of stuff, to make room to make sure that I can spend time on it this year. So.
Yeah, you still gonna have time for your producing duties, you think? Or-
Yeah,
All right,
I'll keep
good.
going with this,
Good.
but I might need some help. So if anybody out there wants to help edit or help schedule or stuff like that, we could definitely use one or two more people to help out with the podcast.
Well, I'm
for sure.
certainly willing to learn that
Yeah.
side of it, so don't be afraid to ask. You know, for me, I'm going to tell some tattletales on myself here. The 1999 convention in Evansville was my senior year at Vincennes, and the chapter tasked the students with packing the conference attendees packets. Well, it didn't take very long for us to figure out which one were the drink tickets, and we may have taken a handful extra tickets off of that roll for our own enjoyment. that year.
My manila envelope, I think, was light that year.
No, you got what you were due. We just had quite a few extras because I was 21. There was a couple kids in our class that were 21, and we were passing out a lot of drink tickets. We were the hostess with the mostest. And unfortunately or fortunately, the first few years of my conference attendance was more the social aspects. And it's still an extremely important part of what the conference is, because I think we got to build that camaraderie, that brotherhood and sisterhood, because we got to be in the trenches to work on, legislative things to advance surveying as a whole, and that takes us really having to enjoy being in the room together, and having fun with it. But for me, as I got to be a professional, as I got to think about reflecting on myself, and it was always a way to reflect on the previous year, kind of have a reset on your professional mindset and being prepared to take on the next year with everything you got. So it was always, the timing of it being the first of the year has always been perfect for me. There's been times we've been crazy busy in January. There's been times it's been slow, but it's always that reset to start that new year off just right. And that's the way I've always looked at it. And I love convention. Aside from National Surveyors Week, it's the greatest time of the year. So we are, as I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, we are here on site. They were gracious enough to let us kind of wander around like a bunch of strangers and check out the venue, and they've let us sit up here in the lobby. Initial thoughts are this place is beautiful.
It is.
Atrium is nice.
It looks small from the outside, and
May not be as big as previous areas. I mean, convention last year was
well,
nice
I'm
and
talking about
spacious.
the conference hall area.
All of
I
it.
thought I live right in this. I live 2 miles down the road from here. So I was like, I don't know how we're all going to fit in
Party
there.
at Swingley's.
Yeah, a big cookout maybe. Maybe it's warm, but you walk down the hall where the conference is, and if we walk past 3 rooms, like, man, that's going to be tight. And then you go around the corner, and there's 3 gigantic rooms.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be in great shape as far as space goes. This lobby seems to be an extension of the bar area,
Yeah,
so there's going to be plenty of places to have intimate conversations, cozy up by the fire, and have a in-depth conversation with a fellow attendee.
Argument maybe.
Or there's some sectional couches that you can sit down with some TVs and sit down and really make a little party of your own, so to speak. So I think this is going to be an ideal venue. It's in a great location, especially, it's going to be, obviously I think our Southern Indiana people are going to bitch a little bit because they're going to have to drive through downtown or through to the north side. We are in Noblesville on the north side. It's going to be very convenient for our northeast chapter to get down here, just straight down I-69 and stop before you get into the big traffic. Seems to be ample parking, which is always a topic of discussion at our conference. But all in all, I think it's a beautiful venue. A lot of options for other hotels to stay at. There's a shared parking lot with a Holiday Inn. Just looking at Google, prices-wise, I'm not sure what our group rate is here at Embassy Suites, but normal pricing here is about $150 a night. Holiday Inn looked like on a Google search $110, and then there's the Wyndham, which is just catty corner to here, showed about $85 a night, which still looks like a wonderful hotel.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's a lot of options. What are your thoughts on the area, as far as entertainment goes? I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, you've got Hamilton Town Center, the mall area right here, and there's plenty of shops and stuff around it. Cabela's, all that's right there. So
IKEA's just down the road, so this probably could be one of the greater opportunities to guys and gals to bring their significant other, because
there's plenty to do.
There's plenty of stuff to do here, without a doubt.
Plenty of restaurants.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We enjoyed BJ's for lunch today.
Yeah, we met for lunch before the podcast. I thought was a wonderful stout that they brew there. Lunch was good, and I think this is, there's a couple places even walking distance to eat here.
Yeah, just here on the same street.
So it's not quite as robust as a downtown venue. I always enjoyed our downtown conventions, but there was always some issues with parking and things of that nature. But I think this is going to be a venue, and we were talking, maybe it's not, maybe we're not ready to sign a 10-year deal like we did with the Marriott East, but I could definitely see us having our conference here numerous times in the next few years, without a doubt.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
well, with that, let's jump in and kind of do a preview of the ISPLS conference. There are a couple of good talking points. We're very lucky to have Dennis Moland come back. It's been several years since we've had Dennis Moland here. I think him or his spouse may have had some health issues that kept him from traveling. That's all been resolved. He's back on the road. We may be one of the first conferences he's come back in full force. So I've always enjoyed Dennis, and I really I'm excited to have him come back. And we had one of our prodigal sons missing from the last convention, and maybe even the previous convention. Of course, we're always excited to have Mr. Gary Kent back. So,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You want to take us through some of the classes we have offered here, Ryan?
So Wednesday, we've got The Surveyor in Jeopardy by Gary, and it sounds like this is one it says on here, this is very audience participation centric. So it's kind of game show style Jeopardy, not really what you think of when you think of Surveyor in Jeopardy and Doom and Gloom. This is more Surveyor in the game Jeopardy. So it's a lot of question and answer kind of stuff. So
And that is a elective? No, that's
a
mandatory.
mandatory.
That's going to be
You know,
very
he's
nice.
going to talk about a lot of Rule 12 and state statutes and ALTA standards and all that kind of stuff.
Now, do we have to answer his questions in a form of a question?
Absolutely.
What is a benchmark?
There you go. I'm practicing already.
Well, it's not often. I mean, sometimes mandatory topics can be a little dry, and this one sounds like it's going to be very exciting. So.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be more than just sitting there and listening to Gary talk for 3 hours. So, and then Dennis is covering to accept or not to accept. That is the question. So, kind of some corner perpetuation and corner evidence type of course it looks like. So, and then our Wednesday evenings afterwards, you know, as we talked about with the social stuff, we've got our welcome reception from 4 to 6, and then the historical society's meeting from 6 to 7. So those are some events you can go to and meet up with your fellow surveyors.
I think we probably on that, is it Wednesday that we typically have the university university
alumni receptions.
Reception hall, yeah. I'm not sure what Purdue's doing this year. I'm assuming they would have something, but Vincennes University is doing something a little bit different. Hopefully you guys have seen it in your information packet or seen some level of post from ISPLS. We are having a Topgolf event at Topgolf, obviously, from 6 to 9 on Wednesday. This is a fundraising opportunity. The funds that we raise will go to the Vincennes University Equipment Fund. You know, we've been very fortunate with our golf outing, and we just want to create another opportunity to help people give back to Vincennes University for purchase of equipment. You know, equipment's not getting any cheaper, so we need all the help we can get. This event is a paid event. It is open to any ISPLS attendee, conference attendee, and I really assume anyone. I mean,
who wants to
if
come.
you're a YSN member and you're not coming to the conference, this would be certainly a great opportunity to come get a little social. So it is from 6 to 9 on Wednesday, and it is $60 per participant. We did, several companies did do some lump sum contributions to buy that individual price down. We felt that was still an adequate price point for people to still come. We're providing some food and drink. I'm not sure about alcoholic beverages, maybe cash bar for that, but I think it's a good opportunity to get into a social setting outside the conference area.
It's not far down the road.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
we're
one or two exits at most. So it's right across the street from the IKEA area.
And there's also opportunities if companies want to buy a bay. There's opportunities to sponsor a bay, and the sponsorship comes with 6 of those spots.
Yes.
So, you know, if you don't want to pay individually to come, talk your company into buying a bay and getting 5 of your friends to come with you.
Yeah, so the opportunities are obviously an individual attendee, which is $60, a bay sponsor, which is $500.
Yep. And
then just a general sponsorship of any amount that you're willing to give. So I think it's hey, we're taking advantage of the unique area that we're in, and let's go ahead and get out and have some fun. And maybe we're stealing a little bit from what the YSN did a few years ago. I think they had a golf outing, and I know everyone that attended had a great time. So we're really looking forward to that. Rodney, what are we looking like on Thursday? Or excuse me, Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
Do you have it? Do you have it pulled up?
I don't know that I can. Let's see here.
Get the glasses.
He's got to put his glasses on. He's getting up there in age.
2 more months, hit the 50 mark. So I apologize. Let's see. So is this where we have ethics?
Well, we got breakfast starting at 7 a.m.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
this hotel does have made-to-order breakfast. Are we having a separate breakfast outside of
Yeah.
that?
So if you're staying here at the hotel, yes, they have made to order breakfast that's free for hotel guests as part of your room rate. So I think we are having a separate breakfast, but we've gone a little lighter this year on the convention breakfast. I think we kind of cut down a little bit. It's not going to be as robust of a meal as it is some years because you can get such a good meal at the hotel restaurant. So for those attendees that are coming from home or not staying here in the hotel, don't come in expecting, eggs, biscuits, gravy, sausage, all the stuff. I think there's a little more of it's more continental.
So
type
come
of
down to the
muffins.
lobby, have your hearty breakfast, make your way to the ISPLS breakfast, have a light snack and a cup of coffee,
There
and,
you
and
go.
conversate
Just
with your
socialize,
colleagues.
yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've got Managing Your Surveying Business in the 21st Century by Gary Kent. We know that will be a good one. So we're talking about constantly changing economic climate and technology and how to manage that for your company. Dennis Mullen was going to be talking about subdivision of sections. So Dennis is a Arizona surveyor. I think he worked for BLM at one point in time. So I think that will be a good topic to kind of go over the BLM manual and processes of subdividing fractional sections. One of the things I want to talk about before we get into these next few speakers is kind of what the ultimate goal of the conference has been. Usually we can afford a couple of national speakers, and obviously that's Gary. Gary's always considered a national speaker, even though he lives here in the beautiful state of Indiana.
And gives us a nice discount.
He does give us a nice discount, but so we typically can have two national speakers, and then we always see this as an opportunity, especially the last several years, to develop our local speakers. There's not a lot of young Gary Kent style speakers out there today, so we've got to take the time to help give those speakers opportunities. The other opportunity is to provide some coursework for our technicians outside of, hey, calculate this curve and figure this coordinate geometry. Not that those things aren't important, but we want our technicians to start thinking about professional level topics. So we kind of have to interlace some of that in together. Typically, Fridays are a good opportunity for technicians to come in, so you'll notice our schedule's a little more technical in nature on Friday. But that segments me into the new dynamic duo that we have here in Indiana for speakers, Aaron Carl and Ryan Weber.
Is this their third year speaking?
This will be their third year, I believe. I think I'm trying to think when the first one, did they speak at French Lick and then maybe skipped a year and then...
They were in Fort Wayne.
And maybe they were in
year.
Fort Wayne the year before, and then Indianapolis, and then Fort Wayne again. That's probably how it went. But I didn't get to attend their very first seminars, but I did sit in both of their sessions in Fort Wayne. I thought they did a great job. I mean, they had a lot of audience participation, which always makes it interesting. They kind of stole from Larry the Candy Man. Larry Phipps, do you guys remember Larry Phipps?
I do.
I loved Larry Phipps. He was a great speaker. Larry Phipps actually came down to Vincennes University and put a seminar on it and completely donated his time for the Vincennes University program. And I always have a special place in my heart. I don't know what happened to Larry Phipps. I haven't heard from him in a long time, but they always called him the Candy Man because he literally, if you participated, he passed out candy. And so did Aaron and Ryan, and I thought that was a nice addition and a way to pay tribute to Larry. And so, but did either of you attend either of those sessions at the Fort Wayne conference?
I have not. I'm looking forward to it because I heard great things about it from multiple people. So it was a great interaction, great content. presentation style apparently is pretty awesome. So
Yeah, I think I caught the second half last year of
Yeah.
one of their sessions. So I didn't catch the morning, but I got their afternoon session. So it was good.
You know, and not to detract from the guys, but I think it's hard sometimes to get up and ask a question or participate in a Gary Kent seminar. I mean, Gary, and I'm not saying that Ryan and Aaron aren't knowledgeable of their content, but Gary's extremely knowledgeable, and
He can be intimidating.
He can be intimidating, and Aaron and Ryan kind of give you that everyday surveyor, right? They're one of us, and not to say that Gary's not one of us. I'm not saying that at all, but they're one of us.
He seemed like one of us at lunch today.
Yeah, he was very much one of us at lunch today. But I think Aaron and Ryan are obviously very approachable, and it makes it easy to participate in those sessions. So I think that's what I really think is positive about their sessions is that participation. What else we got on tap?
We've got some more of the technical type stuff, a little bit mixed in here too with the beyond the spec sheets, some bathymetric type stuff. And is this a vendor that?
Yeah, I think this is Lou Nash is
Nash,
with. I'm trying to think. Navtron or Measuretronics. Yeah, they're down in Florida. They're a big bathymetric hydrographic survey dealer. I'm going to attend that session because it really falls into my day-to-day operation. So I'm really excited about that. Maybe not hit everyone within our attendee class, but I'm certainly excited about it. So
the convention's always an opportunity to see stuff that you may not normally see. So sometimes even if it's not in your day-to-day operation of what you do, it's always nice to at least know it's out there and know a little bit about it. So if you need to reach out to an expert in that field because the project you're on requires some of that, you at least have a little bit of an understanding of what they're talking about. So
right, you may never, there's bathymetric survey spans the globe from single point sensors to multispectral sensors. You may never do high-end bathymetric survey in your career, but you may have a chance to manage a sub-consultant. And it's always a good idea to be a little bit educated in what the process is, because ultimately, if you're bringing a sub in from out of state specifically, likely they're not licensed here, and it's going to be you that's taking responsibility for the work that they do. So it's always good to educate yourself in as many facets of the profession as you possibly can.
For sure.
All right, that brings us on to Henry County GIS Section Corner Project, presented by Angie Gibson and Joe Mullins. I know Joe's pretty excited about what they've been doing in Henry County. So his passion alone will be worth sitting in and listening to. Trying to see here. So they've been working on a perpetuation program for a few years, and then how they're integrating that into their GIS program to present that information to their users. I think that's obviously, that one really bridges the gaps. We have obviously section corner perpetuation that deals with information back to before Indiana was a state, onto a GIS platform that is obviously modern technology, and how to present your findings to a broader audience. So I think that'll be a very cool thing to listen to. Nice integration of the full spectrum of surveying.
And that just got us to lunch.
Yeah,
So that's a packed morning there. That's some choices to make.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I sit down to make my selection, I was very, very, very torn on which direction I was going to go. So that's tough for an attendee, but it's indicative of the program that we built here that I think is very, very well packed. So
I think I had to refresh mine no less than 4 or 5 times, letting it set, trying to figure out that the what I'm interested in versus what you're always looking for those mandatory hours, right? You put those at the top and say, hey, do I need them or do I not need them? And if I don't need them, do I still want to attend this one for whatever reason, the content, the different style. I mean, having an opportunity to go to I've heard of the Jeopardy presentation. I heard it was very interactive, very fun. I'd love to do it. Looking at all the other options, though, that you can only be at one place one time. So make your choice, and hopefully it'll come back around in the next couple of years if you don't get it this time. We're always trying to look at what's current, obviously, what's best for and what's available. Speakers' times, obviously. I mean, they're busy. We're booking these a year out in advance. So who's available? Dennis was obviously a great surprise to see that he was available and could make the slate, and get a twofer with him and Gary both at the same convention, and then have all these other options. So
absolutely. I don't exactly know what our menu is for lunch. Do you?
No, I don't.
I think we've specifically requested no potato bar, though. I do know that. And I usually suggest no lunch meat, but I've been vetoed on that one. Some people really enjoy that, but I'm a hot lunch guy. So we'll just have to see how things shake out.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we did that budget meeting that we discussed all that. That was like back in March or something.
All right, so one of the sessions after we get done with lunch, so we got 3 more options for classes. I'm really excited about ethics for professional surveyors with Dennis Moland.
I've heard it's really good.
You guys may think I'm crazy because usually the thing you cringe about is taking an ethics course. I mean, I sit through the ethics course in Kentucky this year, and I mean, God love them, they literally just read the code to us. Now, Dennis wrote a book on ethics, which is a series of short stories that was extremely entertaining, and I'm assuming that this seminar will be basically a live version of that book. So I really look forward to it. Like I said, I can't be more excited than have Dennis back. But unfortunately, that means I have to miss Aaron Carl and Ryan Weber. And a topic that I really need to be more attuned to is dealing with coordinate drift. I mean, NSRS modernization is right around the corner, and I've not kept up with it as much as I should. And Jacob Heck is a very well-educated young man and a great speaker. So if that is something that piques your interest, you really can't go wrong with any of the selections that afternoon.
Not at all.
Thursday's going to turn out to be a really good day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't get any better. I mean, they're whopping you with a bunch of different great topics on Friday. Now remember, Friday morning or Friday in general was intended to be a little bit not technician centric, but the topics are supposed to be a little bit more broad, so they could pertain to a professional or I don't know if I kind of like the word paraprofessional for technicians versus the word technician, but I've heard some people say they don't like it. Me personally, I like it because they are a professional to a certain extent, maybe not in responsible charge, but they need to be thinking about broader topics than just how to run the instrument. Broader topics than just how to run the gun, the GPS, because there's things, I've been a big proponent of what is the survey? Is it the piece of paper that we present the survey on, or is it what's happening in the field? And I believe 100% the survey is what happens in the field. So as the eyes and ears of the professionals that can't get out in the field as much as they once did, it's extremely important for our paraprofessionals, technicians, whatever term you like, to have a broader understanding of the profession as a whole. So I'll get off my soapbox a little bit. And Ryan, maybe you can take us into what Friday morning looks like.
Yeah, we've got. Well, Gary's gonna do a mock trial, so that's an all day event right there. So,
And I can't think of a better way for a technician to understand the implications of what happens on a survey than attending that mock trial. And it's fun.
yeah,
If you really want to be engaged in the mock trial, there's no better than the opportunity to volunteer for one of the roles. I've done it one year. It's very fun.
I've done it. It's fun. It is a good time.
And you get credit for it.
You do.
You're having a good time, and you're getting credit for it.
and then we've got Dennis doing charm school for professional surveyors. I don't. Do you know much about the charm school there?
I really don't. I know that we had talked to him about another course, and he suggested that this one is a little bit more pointed to today than some of the other courses. But it's really just about dealing with the public. I mean, how to sometimes we're a little bit gruff and rough and we need to be a little bit more charming. I get a lot of phone calls to about, we don't do boundary surveying at ESP. We focus primarily on mobile LiDAR, but I get a lot of phone calls for people asking for surveyors, and I don't just say we don't do those and hang the phone up. I take a little bit of time, ask them what they're trying to accomplish, and I try to refer them to a company I think that can meet their needs. And people are usually I'm sure that's not what this seminar is about, but I'm sure people are very appreciative, that I've taken the time and said, no, we don't do that, so hopefully my friends that I refer them to are very appreciative as well, and those that I do will be willing to buy me numerous drinks at the convention, I'm sure.
He's not in charge of drink tickets again. So,
Well, and I think, part of being a professional is being able to have those conversations with clients, and this is kind of helping you kind of hone those skills a little bit.
Yeah, and anything Dennis is going to do is going to be entertaining, without a doubt.
Yeah.
That takes us into a couple courses that are a little bit more geared towards the technician. Maybe not this latter one, but the first one, Relative Positional Tolerance and Adjustments Using Trimble Business Center. This is a topic pretty near and dear to my heart. I mean, we do a least squares adjustment for all of our measurements in Trimble Business Center. If I'm doing an ALTA, I run the Relative Positional Tolerance report so that I know that I'm in ALTA compliance. So I think it's going to be more important for more and more professionals to learn how to do, or in this instance, Trimble users, to learn how to do those adjustments and be confident in your measurements. We did ask that Jeff Clark would add some general GPS best practices, so we think this is going to be a good class for both paraprofessional and professional. Even though the R12i seems to be a magic box, at least that's what everyone seems to tell me. And I have been extremely impressed with it. Any measurement has error in it, and we need to know where that error lies and be able to analyze it and sometimes suppress that error if we can, and or at least to the best of our ability. And this is what this class is really about. The next topic is direct supervision of a land surveyor. Dan Bland has been kicking around this idea for a long time. I've been trying to encourage him to put this on paper for the last couple of years, and finally that encouragement has gotten the best of him, and he's doing it. But this class is really about what does direct supervision of a land surveyor to his paraprofessionals look like? What should it look like? What should the expectations of the licensed surveyor expect from his paraprofessionals? And on the other end of the spectrum, what should those paraprofessionals be expecting from their LS? So I think it's a good topic to open dialogue. to bring some new ideas to the forefront, so that we can ensure that we're really meeting our duty to society, to the public. Do you guys like paraprofessionals? Yes or no?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep
There you
going
go.
with it.
Keep rolling with it.
The word technician is used in so many different manners across the disciplines in the AEC industry. I think, not that it changes, but there's the terminology to some people, may matter, and I think it does more accurately describe what role they are.
Well, you got obviously paralegal. Everyone's understands what that is. Legal technician wouldn't sound as elegant, I think, as a paralegal. So I'm going with it. We'll see if it sticks. Well, if someone comes up to me at the conference and starts talking about paraprofessionals, number one, we'll know they listen to the podcast, and number two, they like it. So we'll see. All right, that takes us to Friday lunch. Do you want to talk about Friday afternoon? Anybody? Rodney, how are your glasses working over there? No,
they're not.
It's a no-go for Rodney.
Thinking
Ryan?
beyond technology with Dennis. That's kind of, a little bit of how technology's kind of hurt us a little bit. And,
Yeah.
Thinking about what impact it's had and how we, move on from that. So,
Yeah, I think it's every time we talk about technology that we need to have this point counterpoint situation. I mean, there's no doubt that AI and some of the measuring technology that we have today is changing the world. But there's the question, should it? Should it change the world? We've certainly seen how measuring technology has changed the construction site. But should it? So I think it's going to be a good topic. We had a gentleman in Fort Wayne that spoke on this similar topic. I'm not sure. I wasn't a big fan of that session, but I know Dennis will bring a different flair to it that will make you scratch your head and think, what should we be doing as a profession? Oftentimes we get caught up in that brings back what I was talking about earlier about not just talking about how to calculate a curve, how to do coordinate geometry. This is thinking beyond what your role as the eyes and ears of a land surveyor should be, what your role as a surveyor protecting the public should be. And if it's breaking out of the truck and going and staking coordinates off of deed plot, that's not the direction we want the profession to go. All right.
And then you should be familiar with the next speaker, Randy Allen. So
yeah, for those that don't know, Randy Allen worked for me for several years. Had a great opportunity to go to work for TopoDot and bring his level of expertise that he learned in the private sector to a software company. And I think he's dynamically changing things over there that for the better. I mean, to bring that real world perspective. And he's going to be presenting on data quality considerations that allow automated modeling of UAS point clouds. For those that don't know, TopoDot has a certain amount of, I want to say probably the manned-guided automated extraction. So what we can do is point the software in the right direction, say, here's a curve, and the curve's going this direction. And then the software will interrogate that curve along that whole line and place break lines along that curve line. Obviously, the fuzzier that data is, the worse off that you have the ability to do that level of automated feature extraction. So it'll be interesting to see what examples they show, whether we have a LiDAR UAS data versus an auto-correlated imagery point cloud photogrammetry. It'll be interesting to see what kind of results can come out of that. Obviously, something we all got to be thinking about at all times. Steve Harmon is going to prevent on surveyor safety on the job site.
Steve's with NDOT, so it's kind of going to come from that highway safety perspective, and for all of those that are working on transportation projects, and even those that aren't working on transportation projects. There's so many of our projects that fall right along the roadways, and we almost all end up in the road at some point. So it's definitely something we have to keep forefront. Yeah,
and it seems like every few years we lose a surveyor to a traffic accident.
It's not a seam; it happens.
No, absolutely.
It is amazing. I've been surveying over 25 years, and the friends that have been involved in accidents, and several of them have lost their lives in situations that were some preventable, some not, other than not being there at that time, which is hard to do in our profession. So preparing our staff and coworkers and everybody involved in projects to be knowledgeable about safety, working in and around traffic, adjacent to projects of the utmost importance.
Absolutely. And it's going to be great to hear the perspective of many of our ultimate client, right? Oftentimes NDOT is the ultimate client. They're the ones setting what their expectations for us are, so it'll be good to hear it from their perspective. So I think that's good. That's going to be, hey, and if it saves one life, we should have it every single year. So Adams Westfall is presenting Making Dollars and Cents of adding laser scanning as a service. I know I will be attending this. This is a very large part of what my business is. And I'm even though I've been doing laser scanning as a service for over a decade here in Indiana, I can always learn from someone else's perspective. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say, comparing some notes. If you're thinking about getting into laser scanning, or if you're in laser scanning already, I highly encourage you to go. I think Adam works for Leica, if I recall.
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, so there may be, I doubt he's going to sales pitch it. It'll probably be very generic.
Not yellow, but green.
I mean, Leica makes excellent laser scanning equipment, without a doubt. So,
and it seems like in the last few years, laser scanning's kind of blown up. So, I mean, it's something, that surveyors need to, again, at least understand what's out there,
And if you're this doesn't seem like a technical course, right? It's the business side of laser scanning. But let me say this. If you're a paraprofessional wanting to encourage your company to get into this type of surveying, there's no better way to get your wishes than to come up with a business plan that outlines cost, revenue sources, all the things involved, instead of just saying, hey, we really, really want this. If you can put exactly what he says, the dollars and cents to your ask, you're more than likely to get it.
Yeah.
So don't sleep on this one. If you're a technician, paraprofessional, you need to know, again, not just we want this because it's cool, but the broader aspect on how it impacts the business you work for.
Who doesn't want another tool in their toolbox?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sure. And every time I've had the opportunity to ask for a lot of equipment over the years, and every time I put dollars and cents to it, it was rarely that I was ever told no, although I was just told no the other day. But
how big of a price tag? Come on now, Ryan. I know how you.
It was only $750,000.
Only $750,000.
But what I failed to do is I did put dollars and cents to it, but what I failed to do is put, it was a little bit of a wish that here's what we think we can do over the next 5 years without any real hard evidence. And I get it. I understand that. Yeah. So and now that I'm in a new role, I'm held to a higher standard. So, so first time for everything. But. And then the business of surveying, what's your cost? And again, this may be something that, the technician thinks is not a topic for them, but there's no better way to rise through the ranks of your organization than to be conscious of cost. If you can achieve your tasks in the field under budget and understand the cost of doing business, you're going to elevate yourself to that next level within your company. And there's obviously numerous professionals out there that need to talk about this topic as well.
I mean, when it comes down to it, the cost is what's, if you're not making money, then you're not going to keep doing that job. So, it's gonna motivate your boss to make certain decisions, and it's going to motivate you as a business leader to make certain decisions. So it affects everyone in the business one way or another.
And talk about a guy ready to talk about this. Kevin, how do you pronounce that last name? Woset? No.
Sorry, Kevin.
But here's a guy that's a land surveyor with a degree in finance and an MBA from the University of Dayton. I can't think of anybody that understands not only land surveying, but the business of land surveying better.
Oh, yeah.
It's always tough to come in to a discussion on finance from an accountant that has no freaking clue what we do. I mean, there's certain accounting principles that when we apply to capital investment of equipment, things like that, that just they don't have a clue on what our needs are, but this guy does. So if you're a new business owner, you're a new department manager, you're that paraprofessional wanting to make it to the next level, I think this is a good class for everyone to attend.
We're looking to start a business.
Looking to start a business, absolutely. Whether we like it or not, money is an adult scoreboard. And being profitable in your business is what allows you to afford new technology, to afford that next employee. Those are the, what is it? A friend of mine always says, he who makes the gold is the king, or makes the decisions. So
First rule of business.
Absolutely. And
Make
there's
money.
nothing unethical about making a profit. That's my favorite one. So with that, that's pretty much a wrap on the conference. I think it's an excellent showing for this year.
Yeah, I don't think there's any bad choices on the list. So you're gonna definitely learn some good stuff no matter which way you choose. So.
Absolutely.
Right now we're enjoying some great weather. Hopefully that holds off for another few weeks.
What is it right now?
It's warm.
December 14th.
It's almost 50 degrees outside.
Almost 50 degrees. If that holds, heck, we can go play some golf. Obviously, Top Golf. You can go to Top Golf.
Won't even need the heaters on. And if you haven't registered yet, you really need to get it done before Christmas. That would be ideal, I think. Let the fees go up come the first of the year, so get it done.
Firms take advantage of your discounts.
Yep, you should have got an email. All the firms should have got an email on your firm discounts.
Yeah. Couple things that we didn't mention. Thursday evening, after classes are over, we always have our annual business meeting.
Yep.
I know it's tempting to come down here, take the edge off the day, have a beer right after classes are over. But our volunteers at ISPLS put in a lot of hard time and energy into advancing surveying in the state of Indiana. And I think we all need to know what our society's doing. And if there's things you're unhappy with or happy with, there's never a better time than to present it at our general business. It's really the only annual meeting that we have that is open to, all of our meetings are open to anyone, but it's the only time we have a space big enough that really, literally all of our members could attend. So I encourage you to show up, participate, listen, be respectful. But ask questions, be respectful, but if there's something that you don't like, that's your opportunity to voice it. Following that is our annual not our annual, but our banquet. I'm not gonna lie, I've sit through a lot of them. They are a little bit long, but it's an opportunity to socialize. There's a little bit of cocktails beforehand. Usually a pretty good dinner. We don't know what the food's going to be like here, but hopefully it's a little bit better than what we had at Marriott East the last time we were there. But what I love about it is it really, for me, it really, solidifies my passion for the profession. There's always the students there. They're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, excited to be at the conference. We present scholarships, and really the moment of the night for me has always been the swearing in of the new board. I always felt that was a magical moment when I wasn't on the board, and a really magical moment when you are on the board. That really helps you remember what your duty is to this society. So.
Yeah. For sure. And it's really a celebration of the past year.
Absolutely.
Vince will have his awards for those that have stood out this year for him, and it's a celebration of the past year and
Absolutely.
A reset for next year.
Absolutely. So I encourage everyone to be there. Let's pack the house, and then we'll have plenty of time to sit in the bar that evening and talk about the good times. So before we close, I want to talk a little bit about some communication you should be receiving or should have received. Obviously, you should have received a notification of the registration being open for the conference. But more importantly, you should have received the ballot for the 2024 board of directors positions. Now, we're trying to fill 3 candidates to a full term. Full term for a board of directors is 3 years, and 1 candidate will be filled for a 1-year term, being vacated by Alex Doherty, who will become president-elect. That will open up his board position. Traditionally, the board, that 4th board position that needs to be filled, is the next vote getter. But man, do we have an outstanding slate of candidates this year. You want to talk about tough to narrow it down.
It was a hard choice.
I almost didn't vote because I didn't know how to pick. But
and remember, you can only check 3. So don't check more than 3 on the ballot, or your votes aren't going to count at all. So
you have to choose 3, or
you don't have to choose 3, but you can't choose more than 3.
Right. Correct.
So you can, if you don't want to make the choice, you can only vote for 1 or 2, but just don't go over 3.
Yeah. And I've been involved with the board for numerous years, a couple different spans, separated by a few years. We only get 10% participation in the election process. That's abysmal numbers.
I think our president-elect voting this year, though, was pretty good.
Is that right?
I think we might have been closer to 20%. So
okay.
It's not where we need to be, but it was a surprisingly large turnout this year for president-elect.
Well,
so
that's
good.
We'd love to see 100% participation in the election, but we're pragmatic and know that that's not possible. But if you're anything like me, a lot of those emails, because there's days I get 100 emails, the ISPLS ones get buried. I just did a quick search for election, came right up, ISPLS election, clicked on it, took the survey, took me 35 seconds other than the tough decisions on who I was going to choose. So extremely strong board of candidates. Get out there and vote for who you think is going to serve this society the best, and let's be prepared for a great, strong board for our newly elected president, Ryan Selby. With that, this may be the last opportunity that probably is the last opportunity you get to speak to our constituents before the conference. What are your goals for 2024? What do you want to see happen? We've had a lot of success over the last 2 years, partly because of Mr. McMahon sitting here, Rodney Kelly sitting to my right. he's been instrumental in moving the needle forward for workforce development in Indiana. Rodney, we applaud you. You've done a great job, and
Appreciate
you've
that.
really positioned Mr. Selby here in a great spot.
Yeah, and I mean, when we did our strategic planning this year, number one popped right up to workforce development. So, that's still kind of the primary focus. But with that, we need participation. We need help from the membership. So, one of the goals this year is just that message of I really would like to see the membership take a hard look and see if there's any ways that they can give an hour, a 2 hour, some kind of bit of their time back to their profession that has hopefully treated them very well. It's a great profession. Most of us that are in it absolutely love it, and it's to our core. And I think it's important to help us advance the profession. So, Rodney's put in place a lot of good things for outreach and workforce development. We're looking at things even with the convention schedule to help with workforce development. But I think part of that is just we need people to sign up and help with some of these events that we're putting in place. So,
Now explain that. What do you mean by events? Or maybe Rodney wants to speak to that.
There's a little bit of everything, I think. And Rodney, you can chime in for sure. But we've got in place things like the school counselors convention. We've got the FFA that we're participating in. Those are big ones. But then there's other smaller events that we're doing, and even if it's not one of these large events here in central Indiana, but just, take a couple hours to talk to a local group, a high school, where your kids are going to school, or, go talk to their class, something. But if you're going to do those kind of things, pass them along to Rodney so that we kind of have an understanding of what's happening.
Yeah. The opportunities that are out there are tremendous for our profession, for the individuals who do participate, and for the potential surveyors that we expose this wonderful profession to. The opportunities do span a large amount of groups and over the entire year. You mentioned FFA, which was our largest undertaking to date, no question. We had a lot of help from NSPS on that. Build Your Future was instrumental in the spot, working with Macaulay and Kate over there.
They've been amazing partners on workforce development.
Two great individuals, other industry partnerships that we're working with ACEC and whatnot, working with the engineering community, the right-of-way community, IRWA, all these other aligned professions that we work with have been extremely beneficial over the last couple of years. No matter what your flavor is, no matter what the opportunities are, I mean, they will range from elementary school opportunities through high school, student counselors, CTEs, the technical side of education. Those focal points have been pointed out as the pillars that NSPS is targeting. FFA is one of them. Any of these opportunities, we need volunteers and participants to help us out in. So if you're interested, please, you can reach me at workforce@ispls.org. That email goes to me. It also goes to RGI. They receive a copy of it. High schools, middle schools, we do Job Spark for 8th grade. I know, Ryan, you participate in Dream Alive. There are tons of opportunities, and all we're asking for is a little bit of time to donate and volunteer to express your appreciation, like you said, and of the profession that has taken care of a lot of us for our careers, right? So please reach out to me. We'll try to get together at the convention. We're extremely limited on time this year between what commitments we do have between sessions and whatnot, but we're going to try to work something out right after the Wednesday session, the last Wednesday class, for at least a half-hour get-together to talk about a couple of overview points that we have an NSPS meeting next week that we're going to go over some things that they want to roll out and how that would affect our state and and opportunities that you can get involved in at a state level as well. So,
And, for those people that may not be as outgoing and not as comfortable with standing in front of a crowd, there are other support roles and
Absolutely.
tasks that need done throughout the year that if maybe you're not one that wants to get up in front of a group and discuss our profession, which honestly though, talking about our profession, I mean, is pretty simple because most of us understand, if anything, what we do every day better than anything. But if that's not your thing, there's other opportunities to help out
sure.
administratively and stuff. So reach out if you're willing to help, and there's plenty of opportunities to help.
And reach out to us if you know of an opportunity in your community.
There you go.
Because there's usually a surveyor definitely within a county of you that could participate in doing an event, a class visit, talking to a math class, or maybe something, after hours, something in the community that says, hey, this is what we do. It's, we want to give back as much as possible, and what better way than to show, our appreciation.
Well, I was going to kind of say what you, Ryan, had said is, every time I've ever been in a booth space, there's usually someone kind of taking the leadership role, and there's usually someone that's a little maybe cautious to ask a question for everyone, that always wants to pull another member aside and talk to them in a private conversation. So even if you're not a dynamic public speaker, but you have a passion for this profession and you're willing to talk to someone one-on-one, there's going to be opportunities for you if you're there.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you have to be the lead role, taking point. There's always going to be someone that wants to talk to you on a one-on-one basis, and that's going to be honest with you, if you get an opportunity to talk with someone one-on-one, that's going to be a very impactful conversation.
For sure. So that's one of the top priorities. I would like to see our young surveyors come back alive a little more this year, so that's something on the list for this year, is to try to motivate to move forward with a little more activity from them. Last year was kind of a slow year, so I'd like to see that pick up this year. And then just those are kind of the main things to really focus on this year. It would be nice to see our membership grow a little bit. We've had some members that have dropped off, and so maybe pick that up a little bit. But I think the key is, we discussed this a little bit earlier, but the committees need charges. And so, I'm going to evaluate the committees and see, we've got a lot of committees that are out there that are doing great things, but they really aren't getting great direction. So, that's going to be a key this year, is to maybe point these committees that are already doing good stuff in a certain direction to make things happen for the goal of the society this year.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's as good a stopping point as any. We've got, almost, is it 4 weeks until the conference from today? When does it start?
Very soon.
About 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right, so, we obviously have the holidays are going to fly by, and the conference is going to be here before we know it. So I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing a lot of good friends and hopefully some new faces. So
That'd be great.
I encourage everybody to meet a new surveyor this year.
Yeah. When you're out here in the hall, say hi to the guy next to you. Find out, or you're sitting in a course waiting on it to start, find out where that guy sitting next to you's from, or that girl's next to you sitting there, where they're from. Start up a conversation. At least, meet each other. That's what we're here for ultimately, is to just make the profession better. And to do that, we need to rely on each other. So.
Everybody needs a strong network.
Let's pack the house with para-professionals this year on Friday, or if they could come
all week
for the whole attendance, then we would love to have them. But if they can only be here one day, Friday's the day to be here. So, all right. With that, this is Rodney Kelly, Ryan Selby, and Ryan Swingley saying the convention is a time of refreshment and rebirth. We hope to see you there.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, and thanks for tuning in to the Hoosier Surveyor Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Hoosier Surveyor Podcast, brought to you by the Indiana Society of Professional Land Surveyors. For more information about the society, please visit ISPLS.org, or if you are new to the profession, you can find helpful resources at futureindianasurveyor.com.